What drives home prices? One of the biggest misnomers I think that's out there is that interest rates solely drive home prices. Drives me absolutely nuts. Being an economist myself, that was my degree, got an MBA in finance. I loved studying interest rates. Did a weird thing where I actually sat as like a mock Fed chairman board, and we had to do a committee meeting to do stuff for a whole class that I had done at the Air Force Academy. A lot of fun. So anyways, I enjoy that kind of stuff. And one of the biggest misnomers I see in the real estate world is that interest rates solely drive pricing. Now, if any of us who have watching this have been around for the last couple of years, we know that interest rates have risen dramatically. But what have sales prices done? They have actually gone up in most areas. Some areas have seen some price softening. Some prices have gone down or stayed flat, but most areas have still gone up over the past year and a half, even though interest rates have gone up dramatically. Now, part of that I'll say is that it takes some time. So it does take some time to see changes in behavior and pricing, but the reality is that interest rates do not directly drive home prices. Supply and demand at its most basic level are what drive real estate prices. One of the things I love about real estate is that supply and demand are so pure in the real estate game, meaning that if there's one buyer and one seller, you got a pretty balanced deal. If there's a lot of sellers, 5 sellers, only 1 buyer, then most likely prices are going to go down. If there's 5 buyers and 1 seller, then most likely prices are going to get driven up. It doesn't matter what the interest rates are. Remember, it doesn't matter how many, it all comes down to how many buyers and how many sellers there are. Now, interest rates can indirectly start to affect home prices. How's that? And this is very real. And a lot of us, especially if there's real estate agents or their loan officers listening to this one, you know that interest rates haven't gone up dramatically. There's a lot of folks who have decided to not buy. And there are buyers who have said, hey, we're not going to buy. And that's ultimately what a lot of folks just assume. Interest rates have gone up, prices are going to crash because there'll be so few buyers and all these sellers will start adding up that prices will go down. But here's the deal. While yes, there are fewer buyers, no doubt about it. Interest rates have gone up, there are fewer buyers. The number of sellers have also gone down dramatically, and there were just so few sellers over the past few years that even with a decrease in buyers, there's still more buyers than there are sellers in most markets, which is just incredible, right? So it comes back again to supply and demand. So not until there is some increase in supply or an even further reduction in buyer demand will we see any changes in home prices. Now, locally in certain markets, we are seeing that. Some of the agents we get to work for around the country are seeing some prices have issues because the buyer demand has just dropped dramatically, especially with investors. Some places investors have just pulled out entirely. No one else is coming from out of state. Some of those markets where there are a lot of out of state people moving, they've just stopped. And then all of a sudden there's still folks selling and the supply has risen quite a bit. They actually have seen some price softening. But in most areas overall, there's still just fewer sellers because now those sellers who locked in a super low interest rate are having a harder time looking to move. In the last 2 years, we had a lot of folks move who wanted to move, who didn't necessarily need to, but wanted to move. Right now, we're down to mainly the need folks who are moving. The folks who need to move are moving versus want and need. So while we're still in this environment, the thing is we got to keep our head focused on knowing that prices won't really change until supply and demand change in some way. So there has to be a drastic increase in supply some way or a gradual increase over time, or buyer demand has to continue to even go down further in order to see any pricing changes. My guess is that over the next 6 to 12 months, we'll see a little bit of both to where supply might increase a little bit more. Demand may stay about the same because I think interest rates are going to stay in a similar band of where we're at. And we'll just have to see ultimately what that does with prices because really we're historically so low on inventory that it's just going to take a little bit of time to see how this sorts out. My name's Evan Kaufman. I hope this helps you go out there and win a home. Take care.